were the plays on fire that we saw this time around. At the Public is Rinnie Groff's Fire in Dreamland. Fire in Dreamland refers to this fire that took place in Coney Island in this amusement park section called Dreamland, and this was 1911. But now we are in contemporary times in Coney Island, and there's this very strange love story going on between Kate and Lance and Jap. Jap is this Dutch filmmaker. Well, he might not be Dutch, but he's this filmmaker who is making this movie about 1911 Coney Island fire. And Lance and Kate fall under the spell of this movie. They can't, because it's about this lion, Black Prince, who like gets shot 24 times because they thought they were rescuing all the animals by putting them in a tent, but you know, the animal controller can just do so much. And there's a mermaid involved who saves ponies, and I mean, but it made no sense to me at all. But I got a chance to read the play, and I was so moved when I read it. But watching it, despite the incredible acting of Kyle Beltran, Rebecca Naomi Jones, and Enver Gjakac, I just was lost and confused, and I disliked it intensely. So read the play, don't see it. Mixed face.
Part of a sublet series at Here is The Pattern at Pendarvis, written by Dean Gray, adapted and fictionalized from interviews conducted by Will Fellows as part of his research for A Passion to Preserve Gay Men as Keepers of Culture. And this concerns an interview in 1997 with a very old man named Edgar Hellam, a real character, interviewed by young, openly gay Rich Farnsworth, and it's at Hellam's house in Mineral Point, Wisconsin. And Hellam, when he was much younger in the 30s, with his business and love partner, Bob, restored a number of stone houses that were used by Cornish American lead miners, and later he made like a very intimate restaurant in one of those. And the idea about preserving the past is also analogous to what the young interview is doing. He wants to preserve the gay past of these two guys who kept everything quiet at the time, but clearly were living together as a couple. And it was very interesting dialogue, very interesting, moving story. There's another character there who's representing the town, who clearly love Edgar and are keeping him alive, but don't want anything about the gay angle to be publicized because it might send tourists away instead of bringing them there. I thought it was a really cool play. I liked it a lot, and I hope this is a happy face.
The wonderful Potomac Theater Company is back in time, this time with 3 plays in rep. 2 together are The Possibilities and After Dinner Joke, which we'll talk about later. But now we're going to concentrate on Brecht, which was written by Bertolt Brecht and directed by Jim Petosa. And this is a sampler of the German playwright's poems, statements on arts and politics, numerous songs, and a playlet thrown in. And it's performed by young professionals, but it comes across as very amateurish and student. They have to gesticulate every single song, that notion that comes up in the song, and it just drove me insane.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I felt like they were signaling for the partially blind or something. And also, a lot of times they're wearing clown noses, and I just really blame mostly the director, because I think all the young professionals as individual performers show possible talent.
Yeah, as long when they stood still and were and just sang the songs without all the flurs and the flourishes, it was fine, and it was really good, and it was very Brechtian. In fact, one girl in the ensemble that I liked with the short blonde hair, she had the greatest expressive face. I mean, she looked like a Brechtian person, but the rest of it was like, what? Am I seeing this correct? I was like rubbing my eyes. I love the Potomac Theater Company, and all my favorite theater companies are allowed one clunker, and this was it for me.
So
and also throughout the whole thing, there was this woman with an anti-Semitic husband leaving Germany.
That's the playlet, the Jewish wife.
You know, but she still wants him to be looked after, and that kind of ran through it. But, you know, this was just, for them, this was a misfire, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
I'll give it a mixed face minus.
I give it mixed. The Possibilities by Howard Barker was actually a collection of 10 short plays, of which only 4 were presented at the Potomac's evening. And they included the unforeseen consequences of a patriotic act, in which the Jewish heroine Judith is they're trying to persuade her to come back and stand in front of the people and, you know, inspire them. And this is like a year or so after, and she's
what Judith did was she killed this guy that was like threatening Israel.
Right, Holofernes, she cut off his head.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else?
And then we have Alexander the Great in Reason for the Fall of Emperors, and he's all like sad seeing, you know, his soldiers being killed, and there's this peasant there that, you know, helps, you know, look after him and stuff. And then Only Some Can Take the Strain is you have this bookseller, and this guy wants this book, but she's afraid to sell the book because of the there was like this bad the government watcher, like a big brother
so she's
kind
sort
of thing.
Like you think she's very paranoid, but it turns out both the revolutionaries and the state government are equally horrible, and she's screwed no matter what she does.
And then she sees the argument, but is just hysterical about this young woman being berated for showing her ankles, and is this a political statement, or are you just trying to be a floozy, or why are you showing your ankles? How terrible of you to show your ankles! And she's like berated, and it's very clever and funny, I thought. And the acting was so good in this. I mean, really, it was just incredible. And then we had the second act was Carol Churchill's The After Dinner Joke, which is funny because you thought of it as this laugh-in sketch, and because there's all these funny little videos, and to me, with pie throwing and stuff, and that to me evoked the Monty Python sketch comedy. But both of us, you know,
it's like early 70s, I think, is when this was written, so it had this feeling of, you know, it's like mod and popish, and it's flashy, but it's also very funny. There's a young woman who works for a corporation, and then she decides she really wants to help the world, so she's becomes like a spokesperson for a charity, but she's learning that it's very hard to be apolitical and do good work for charity.
Yeah, everything has a political connotation, and she keeps coming up with like, oh, well, this can't possibly have a political connotation. But he says, wait, and they do a sort of 6-degree thing, and it turns into politics. I mean, even snakes, for goodness sakes. I mean, oh, that rhymed. So yeah, this was just this Potomac is back on track with their wonderful Howard Barker and Carol Churchill, which they do so well.
Yeah, and again, well directed here, and the young people are fully integrated with the older veteran performers. So this is the evening you should see.
And speaking of which, they have a really nice tribute to Jan Maxwell. The last play she ever appeared in was the Howard Barker play, Scenes from an Execution. And you know, that
was one of my favorite performances ever.
Yeah, I mean, because when we heard she was retiring, we didn't realize it was because she was sick, and we were both devastated when she died. And I'm dedicating the show to Jan Maxwell, who's like my all-time favorite person and performer. And her son has turned into this classical violinist. He's really good, which I discovered at her memorial. So if there's time afterwards, I'm going to dig up some old interviews and maybe throw them in. But
she seemed so strong, it was hard to believe she would ever disappear.
And she was one of the most incredible actresses ever out there. So for Jan Maxwell, major happy face.
Happy face.
Tevye Served Raw, Garnished with Jews is a marvelous collection of Sholem Aleichem stories done in Yiddish with either subtitles or an English interpreter, with Tevye stories and others popping up in between anecdotes about the writer Sholem Aleichem. Strange Jews on a train. Two Jews in chatting discover they know people in common and wouldn't think to gossip about them. The Yiddish Sisyphus is letters back and forth from a practical bride aimed at her clueless husband who is entranced by the big city of Odessa. The Tevye stories that are used give more detail and backstories to the Fiddler on the Roof that most of us know. The most heartbreaking is Get Thee Gone, when Tevye and Golda try to get their Chava back from the clutches of the church. The best is saved for last, with the stepmother's trash talk, where we get an Olive Tatov listing of all of his stepmother's imaginative curses, which will leave you gasping from laughing, not shocked. The three actors had the perfect timing in bringing out all the schmaltz, Hamish, and humorous qualities that could make you feel verklempt. Alan Lewis Rickman was an endearing Tevye. Yelena Schmolenson in all the female roles may have come across as a Yenta, but was totally a Yiddisher cop, very smart cookie, with a gooey or Jewy heart. Shane Baker may be Episcopalian, but he's a real mensch with very comical double takes. Tevye served raw claims to be garnished with Jews, but is garnished nothing to be sneezed at. This will cure you of all tsuris. Go, gesundheit, happy fit.
Adjusted Realist Theater is presenting the Beyonce written by Eliza Ben from the Chekhov story The Fiancé, and that's what it's about. It's directed by Stephen Kaliski. A young woman begins to have doubts about, should she marry this guy who's rich but maybe a bit dull, especially when her gay friend inspires her she should go back to school, she should do something to help the world. Of course, her mother is just living for this marriage and, is totally self-absorbed and wants the girl to get matching dresses for the bridesmaids and everything like that. I found it a little confusing because of the casting. The girl looks more like she's related to the boy's father, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out that it wasn't her father. I thought the acting of the grandmother and the maid were wonderful, but everybody else far less so. So it's mostly because of the mixed acting skills that I'm giving it mixed faces.
At second stage, we have Mary Page Marlowe, written by Tracy Letts, directed by Lila Neugebauer. And it's basically 6 actresses playing the same character, Mary Page Marlowe, through various ages of her life. Like when she's very young and you see her with her family, and when she's a teenager with her girlfriends talking about marriage and how she doesn't want to get married, and then you see her with her various husbands, and through it all there's like this running thing about the Catholic Church and drinking, and I just found it fascinating. I mean, normally this sort of thing would confuse me, but no, and I normally do not like Tracy Letts, but I just love the character, and I liked seeing her in the various stages, and her confronting herself as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter. It just was really well done, I thought.
Yeah, and even though the time element is scrambled, and you would think you would be confused, it's so well directed, and the scenes move along well that you're not confused at all. I would have liked a little more connecting the dots when I first saw it, but the more I think about it, the more I really like this play. It's sort of a story about, guilt and confronting your own guilt and maybe finding redemption. And at one point she's talking to her shrink, and she feels like she's always acting, she's never her real self. And you kind of feel like only in 1 or 2 scenes, like maybe when she's talking to her girlfriends, and one scene where she talking to a nurse, and then a scene where she's talking to a man who's giving her back her dry cleaning, those were the only times that she wasn't being a mother, a daughter, or a wife, and she could kind of really relax and be who she is.
Or who she always wanted to be, but somehow missed the mark along the way. But the acting, the cast was really good. I mean, they got some of the best people to play these parts.
Yeah, I thought Blair Brown what's her name? Gummer.
Mamie Gummer.
Mamie Gummer.
Wait,
the two of them.
No. Was it
it's the other
no,
Gummer.
Grace Gummer.
Grace Gummer.
Sorry.
All the Gummer girls are great.
And Kelly Overby and Susan Parfor and Tatiana Maslany. And of course you had, and Brian Kerwin was in it. I haven't seen him in a long time. And my favorite actor of all time had a teeny weeny part. David Aaron Baker plays her father. And I was so happy to see him again because it's always a pleasure to see him in anything. So I'm giving this a happy face.
Yes. Jan Ewing reviewed Get the Boat, which is by Evan Brennan and Siobhan Donnellan, and it's directed by Ruth Smith, and it concerns two Irish women who are meeting on a boat and have a conversation where they share some of their deepest secrets that involve particularly the issue of abortion. And the writer and director, and I suppose the actors too, felt this is a good way of opening a dialogue about it now that it's becoming very controversial again and all sorts of politicians want to deny women the right. But it's something that's important to talk about. Jan felt that it was a really good play with really good acting, and he gave it a very happy face, and of course there's more on Facebook.
For all of our plays.
Yes.
New York Music Festival, NYMF is going on right now, and I saw some shows that have closed already. What's Your Wish was two best friends. They get caught in an enchanted book, and they have to find the enchantress in order to get themselves back out of the book and back home again. I found the music was wonderful, the acting terrific. Then I saw Jamie Leo did the book and lyrics, and Paul Leshin did the music for 68 about the Democratic National Convention of 1968, where you have yippies and hippies and the Vietnam War and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy's assassination. There's a lot going on in 68, and they touch upon all of it. And then Emojiland with let's see, book and music and lyrics by Keith Harrison and Laura Nicole Harrison. Basically, it's emoji characters inside the phone, and you have Skull trying to destroy them. And I didn't care for it, but it had Leslie Margarita in it, which is wonderful. And Jan saw it at Sandwich Stone, which he liked very much. But there's a bunch of stuff going on at NYMF right now. It's going on till like August 5th or so. So check out nymph.org and see what you can see.
And now for a Broadway musical, we have Summer, the Donna Summer musical, songs by Donna Summer, Giorgio Moroder, Paul Jabara, and others, booked by Coleman Domingo, Robert Carey, Des McAnuff, directed by Des McAnuff, choreography by Sergio Trujillo. And like Mary Page Marlowe, we have a number of actresses playing the character at various stages. For the very young, duckling Donna, we have Storm Lever. For Disco Donna, her early career, Ariana DeBose, and most wonderfully, Diva Donna, LaChanze, who is a true diva in this. And it's really, again, it's a bio musical, jukebox musical, a lot of her songs. You realize that they still hold up, that they really are good songs, and it's quite a pleasure to hear them again. As a biography, this is pretty weak. It's all kind of stories about how wonderful she was and how supportive her family was. There's not much that's really critical here. But that doesn't matter. I think people who like Donna Summer will enjoy this. People who want to get a chance to see really good performers will enjoy it. So if you're not going to be critical of it as a book musical, you might like it.
Yeah, I had a problem. The only problem I had with this, is that's why I'm not saying very much, is I basically listened to the whole thing because, of course, she's the queen of disco, and you can't have disco without a disco ball and flashing lights. So with my vertigo, I basically had to watch the whole thing. Not even sunglasses could help. I basically had my jacket over my head and my eyes over my eyes, and couldn't watch it at all. But I still enjoyed it immensely because I really liked the Donna Summer music, and I got to find out stuff about Donna Summers I did not know about at all, which I thought added to, like, oh, that makes it more appealing to me. Like, oh, that's why she did what she did and why her music was the way it was. So, and the three performers were fantastic. The costumes, Sergio Trujillo's choreography is always a delight, you know, which I peeked at. You know, I would like go like this so I could see some of it. But I mean, despite the flashing, I mean, for Vertigo, I give it an happy face, you know, obviously. But the rest of it, I'm going to give it a happy face.
Yeah, I enjoyed the disco era, and it was fun experiencing it again with really wonderful performances. So, don't expect too much as a book, but love it as a musical.
I caught up with LaChanze at the Lortel Awards. Here we are with
LaChanze.
How is it doing, Donna Summers?
I feel love. It's great. It's a lot of work. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. The audiences are going bananas every night. I've not heard in my 30 years of this business, have not heard an audience respond to a production like they do when we go into blackout for Donna Summer. It's amazing.
Because it brings back such memories. I mean, disco really had such an influence on us.
Yes, but it's not only her music that people are impacted by. It's her story. It's relatable. It's human. People didn't, of course, she was this disco queen, this musical icon, but she was a human being. And she survived a tumultuous life. And people leave crying. They're laughing. They're dancing. They're happy. And they're left with joy, which I think we can all use a little bit right now, so.
And also we find out more about Donna Summer because I just know the music. It's nice to know about her kids and her home life and all that.
Home life and how she got started, which happened to be in the theater. She's one of us, which is something people don't know. She started in musical theater.
Which is why it makes it so theatrical.
Exactly, which is why her life probably was as beautiful as it was, so.
Well, congratulations, and they're kicking us out.
I know. Thank you so much.
We're gonna... Couple of leftover reviews. This is from Jan Ewing. Jerry Small's Before We're Gone is a play about innocence, faith, longing, separation, and death. What a rich palette for theatrical work. He has drawn upon these elements to create a deeply human drama that speaks directly to the heart. He writes with intelligence and understanding of love delayed and almost lost during a time when ignorance was widespread in the 1950s, and women were vilified for demanding their place in the world. In those days, even attempting an existence on their own too often labeled a woman as immoral. All in all, this is a beautifully crafted, well-acted play illuminating human concerns in ways that we can only appreciate and understand. It runs at the 13th Street Rep until August 5th. He gives us a major happy face, much more on Facebook. Mark and I went to see William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night in the Park. This is a public works with Jana Taub's tuneful, clever music and lyrics that have taken over the park with Twelfth Night, a rollicking musical that punctures sibling grief with lots of unrequited love going on, mischievous servants, and drunken louts to ridiculously happy ending for all. Even Malvolio is given his due this time, which made me happy, as I always hate the way he is treated. Just because he is a pompous ass who has dreams of winning the Fair Olivia, just as Count Orsino and Sir Aguecheek do. The hundreds of public works performers add a joyous charm to the whole shebang. Get there early to join in games on stage, make wishes, and sing along to Bohemian Rhapsody. It even put a smile on curmudgeon Mark Savitt's face. 2 happy faces, more on Facebook, more on our next show, August 18th. And now an interview with Jan Maxwell when I first talk about scenes from an execution.
Jan Maxwell, who got a Dominance Award for Scenes from an Execution, Baltimore, what was it called again? The comedy? Oh, To Be or Not to Be? No, Baltimore, the theater company for Scenes from an Execution. They were from Baltimore. Potomac Theater Project. Yeah, I was going, Baltimore, what's that? Isn't it Potomac in Baltimore? Yeah, I guess so. That's where I got it from. Anyway, but you also found this the substitution and To Be or Not to Be. I mean, you had a banner. You're having. Well, it's been quite a busy year. Yeah, I was hoping to do something on Broadway this year, just to make up for the money that I'm not making off Broadway. But I guess I just kind of like to go for the project rather than the money. So I'm just stupid that way. To Be Around to Me was on
it's not really. It's more of a Lord contract than a Broadway contract.
That's a shame because it was so funny. You were so delightful in it. You are Carol Lombard, and Anne Bancroft.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much.
What's next?
Well, this fall, I'm very, very excited to go back to MTC and do The Royal Family with Rosemary Harris playing my mother. And I'm just, because it was one of those plays that I saw when I was in college, you know, just on great performances on this little TV on Channel 13 in my hometown of Fargo, and it was very profound to me. I just loved it, and Eva Heinemann became my favorite actress at that second. And so I was supposed to do Addams Family, and when Royal Family came up, I couldn't not work on it because it was fairly seminal in my development.
I mean, they've been threatening to do Royal Family. We've been anticipating for so long. I'm glad they're finally doing it.
I know, and Rosemary called me, and she's so excited about it. And we want to start tomorrow. You know, we have to wait till August to start rehearsals. But I'm looking so forward to working with Doug Hughes. I've always wanted to work with him. We've just done readings together, but I love his intelligence and his sense of humor. So I'm hoping for the best.
It's going to be fabulous. Anyway, congratulations. I'm so excited.
Thank you so
It wouldn't be the Drama Desk Awards if you weren't here, quite frankly.
Thanks so much.
Obviously, that was the first time I saw the Potomac Theater Company, and they're from Middlebury College. And here are shows that we've seen, where to go to see them. And look for the reviews for August 12th on our Facebook page, as our next show is August 18th. And we'll be seeing War of the Roses. That will also be on the Facebook page. And the festivals that are still going on. We'll be seeing Sonata and Gunfighter Meets His Match. Madam Lynch. And some wonderful cabaret going on. We'll talk about that on A Clear Day in next show. Never Talk in Costume on August 8th of the Wild Project looks very good. If you see a red asterisk, it means it's a parody production recommendation. And we'll probably talk about these on our next show, August 18th. And don't forget to go to our Twitter and our Facebook page. And these are the shows we reviewed that have closed. Here are some more parody production recommendations. Don't forget to pick up your Performing Arts Inside of the Cultural Heartbeat of New York City. Our next show is August 18th. I've dedicated the show to Jan Maxwell. I'm so heartbroken that she left us way too soon. And don't forget to go to our Facebook page and Twitter and on YouTube. You can see it on Eva Heinemann, the channel, before Saturday.